Hey guys, so this is a totally impromptu, just little sort of practice. Make sure I've got everything working sort of stream. I've been promising you guys for a long time that I'm going to start up the streaming, and people kept asking me, especially while I was in Monza. So I guess here we are. Nice to see a bunch of you in the chat already. That's kind of crazy. Already 28 people watching. Wasn't expecting that. Was kind of hoping it'd be like the three of you guys. So this is kind of cool. Basically, the format of this is I'm just going to do a pretty short race in the Fiat 500 Bath, mainly because we're going to be racing that on Discord. We run community races every couple of weeks. For those that don't know, if you want to get on those, there's a link in the description. We're doing the 500 at Brands Hatch in a couple of weeks' time, so I thought I'd turn some laps on that. I did about 5 earlier, and I have no idea what I'm doing, so this will be a bit of fun. Is the stream working well for everyone at the moment? Is that a budget Ferrari? Yeah. You know what? I was in Italy over the weekend, and the number of Italian cars was absolutely tiny. It was absolutely rubbish. Didn't see any Abarths. Lots of Fiat Multiplers. That was kind of rubbish. I mean, I'm a fan of the Fiat Multipla. It's obviously an excellent vehicle, but didn't really feel the need to see any more of them ever in my life. Good to know the stream's working fine. How's the audio? Sounding good? No faults. That's what I like to hear. Anyway, I'm just going to crack on and do some driving. Can't promise it's necessarily going to be any good, but if any of you guys have any questions about stuff like Assetto Corsa Competizione, obviously I got to do try out an advanced build of that. I don't think it's quite version 1 I got to try, but it's like version 0.95. So if any of you guys have got any questions about that, then drop them in the chat and I'll see if I can answer them while not crashing. Otherwise, stuff about the SRO Esport GT series, that was kind of fun. Anyway, I'm gonna see if I can drive and see what happens. No, I wasn't in Rome, man. I was at Monza, so Milan. So, oh, hey Mike, nice to see you in the chat. I'm going to see if I can learn to drive and talk at the same time. This is all completely new to me. I picked a nice slow car so I can talk to you guys while I'm doing it. With that, oh, Assetto Corsa AI doing its usual job there. So I'm going to just try and get it around Paddock Hill Bend before I look back at chat. So the audio level's okay between the game and the voiceover there, guys. So Paddock Hill Bend is not the time to be looking at the chat. Mark, my favourite car from the advanced build that I got to try, I didn't get to try all of them, but the Aston Martin was totally bonkers ridiculous. If you like the Emil Frey Jag, where you know, it's one of those cars that you just have to absolutely balance. Oh, as I get shoved there, as you absolutely have to balance it on the limit the whole time while you're driving. And the Aston's kind of like that, but just a bit more. Just it feels a bit more present. It's big, it's heavy, it's an Aston really, and I really enjoyed driving that, guys. That was insane. I drove the Audi as well. That was good fun. If you've driven the Audi in R Factor 2, the new one, it's kind of got that sort of feel. It's a very edgy sort of mid-engine prototype car. Game audio could be a bit louder. It's a bit difficult for me to change that while I'm driving at the moment, guys, so you might have to just live with that. I'm very aware that my gear changes are super loud because the no, it's the old Aston, the one that got retired at the end of last season. Yeah, sorry about the squeak, guys. I'll get that sorted for the next one. What else did I drive? I drove the Lexus. Now, the Lexus is a really interesting car. I spoke to some of the guys from Kunos there, and the words they used for that was basically they were really surprised that it managed to get past the homologation. It had particularly suspension setup that bears no resemblance at all to the real world car, and it drives like that. It drives much more like a prototype than some of the other GT cars. So lots of variety actually, and that's what I've really liked about Assetto Corsa Competizione, is that none of the cars are really copy and paste of each other. You know, I was really worried that a game that's just GT3s was going to be a bit limited. Yeah, Mark, the Lexus is a really great car. I don't think it's necessarily the easiest one to drive. I think that's going to be a car where you find a lot of time in the setup, whereas you know, I think things like the Ferrari, you know, I think people have taken to the Ferrari very easily. Any additional tracks? Well, you've got the 10, I think it's 10, isn't it, that were in last year's Blancpain season. I got to drive Spa, Brands Hatch, and yeah, I think it was just Spa and Brands Hatch actually that were different from the 6 that we've got. Yeah, I think I only did Spa and Brands Hatch. Brands Hatch felt absolutely great. This particular section here, which in real life, if you've never been to Brands Hatch, you can't sort of appreciate how steep the run up the hill there into Druids is. But you know, if you're walking, it's a really steep incline, and I'm not sure you necessarily feel that in Assetto Corsa, but in Competizione, there's just something about the depth in the graphics that make it more pronounced. It just feels like you're in more of a real world situation, as I'm driving terribly at the moment. Mike, yes, Spa. Well, it felt like Spa. I drove it in the rain in an AMG for the first time I drove that, so it was a bit edgy. It was heavy rain as well, so lots of aquaplaning and stuff, but it looked fantastic. You know, it's a bit difficult to be super excited about tracks that have already been in Assetto Corsa, just because I guess I don't know actually if they've got new laser scans, but I mean they're producing it from similar data, so you expect the tracks to be pretty similar, to be honest. Tell you what, I really wish you could change the gear ratios in this Arbath. As you go through Graham Hill there, it's right on the edge of being too slow in third and too right at the top of the rev range in second, which is totally rubbish. I saw CJ's in the chat there. Have you done any laps in this yet, mate? Vitamin Zeth, yeah, I'm gonna try and do some sort of proper streams pretty soon. Actually, this is just sort of a test to check the bit rates work and everything. I'm streaming in 1440p, which is a bit, you know, UK broadband isn't always necessarily that good. I'm just checking that it holds up. That's why I'm doing it in the afternoon when the network load isn't too bad. I want to get the sort of usage stats back and check that I'm not pushing my luck, really. Do the physics of the new car feel different to the original Assetto Corsa cars? Yeah, that's a great question, man. They feel similar. You know, I think Kunos did a good job with the GT3 cars in Assetto Corsa. So, you know, you're not going to go from driving the Audi, which is you know, a mid-engine rear-wheel drive car, and it, you know, feel completely different. It's subtle. And I think that's the deal with the I think that's really the deal with the force feedback as well. People keep asking me about that, and you know, I like the force feedback in ACC. I think there's some interesting stuff in there that maybe some people don't necessarily appreciate. It doesn't seem to have, sort of at stock form anyway, the same sort of very granular fine detail that Assetto Corsa has. I think you can add that back in with the road feel slider, but there's a lot more feel from the sort of tyre sidewall that I just don't feel in Assetto Corsa. So it's absolutely great when you're right on the limit, and it sort of feels, to me at least, like you've got a better idea of what's going on with the way your tyre interacts with the track. So that would be the main difference I can feel in a lot of the cars. Just back from Petrolhead stay at Zolder. Man, I really want to get to Zolder. That's sort of a bit of a bucket list track. I think lots of them are bucket list tracks for me, but will there be driver swaps? Yeah, there are driver swaps. I haven't seen them because the format of the the weekend didn't support that, but they announced in the press conference that they did that there'll be driver swaps. There was something interesting else that came in the press conference, and I don't know what to make of it actually. Stefan Rattel did his little, 5 minutes, talking about how great it is to, blending of real world motorsports and esports, the usual sort of shtick. But what he did say was he's looking forward to, I'm trying to be careful with my words here so I don't give you guys the wrong impression, but he said that he was looking forward to someone being able to drive some of the other classes in esport competition as well. So maybe that's a hint that we'll be getting things like why did I go down to second there? Maybe we'll be getting things like the European GT4 series, which is the support series for the Blancpain, or maybe even, and this is what I'm really hoping for, the Intercontinental GT, so you get Bathurst, because Bathurst. No, the Audi isn't all-wheel drive in GT3 spec. It's limited to rear-wheel drive, dude. So 1440p is working out then, is it? That's good. Did they explain how driver swaps will work? No. No is the short answer to that break check. It was very quickly glossed over, and to be honest, I had a lot of time to talk to the guys from Kunos, which was very cool, but it didn't occur to me to ask that particular question. I think that's just one of those things that once it's available, it'll make itself clear. Another thing that I sort of glossed over that I really should have asked, that people keep asking about, was what tools there will be for sort of club racing and leagues and things like that. And all I know is that they have a tool set that's available, will be available when the final build is available at the end of May. Nordschleifer I can't see coming to it, because I don't think any SRO series go to Nordschleifer. Do I change the FOV for each car in ACC? No, I keep the field of view the same. I sometimes change the height so it aligns a bit more with my wheel, which I should have done with this, but to be honest, I'm absolutely really badly prepared for this. Triple screen support. Right, yeah, okay, again, this is one where I'm going to need to be really careful as I explore the limits of Paddock Hill Bend there. I need to be a bit careful about this, because I don't want to get anyone in trouble. Triple screen support came up dozens and dozens of times over the weekend, and I heard a few different sort of variations of the same answer, and they know it's important. They are working on something, but as you've probably heard elsewhere, the limitation is the Unreal Engine. So I don't know if triple screen support is going to make it for version 1, but it's something that they are working on. Foot cam when? I had a pedal cam, and it's now pointing at my head at the moment, so I need to get another webcam. Learn to drive first. Yeah, eye tracker support's another thing that I forgot to ask about. I hate to say it, I did have a bit of a list of sort of questions, and then when I actually got time to speak to the devs, it was I spent most of my time just talking about cars, which was a complete waste of my opportunity there, which is a shame. So, as far as this is going, wow, I've done 12 laps already. Where did they go? I think they picked. They mentioned why they picked Unreal rather than developing their own engine, and that's something they thought long and hard about. But I think at the end of the day, you're going to really struggle to provide a graphics engine that provides the same sort of tool set that Unreal does. I think the guys from Slightly Mad did a great job with Project Cars developing their own in-house, but you know, they're a bigger team than Kunos. I think that's something people don't necessarily appreciate about Kunos, is they're a really small team of guys. I think it's like 25 of them. Do I think this is the best moment for R3R? Man, yeah, R3R's great at the moment. I was really privileged to be able to try out the new build of the game a few weeks ago before the new content came out, and I got about a week to play with it. And man, some of the stuff, you know, some of the new content is just magic. And I am really looking forward to what they're going to be sort of bringing to the title over the next year. I think they've got some really big plans. My concern about Race Room is just making sure they can sort of keep up graphically. Yeah, I do have to lubricate the pedals. I can hear that, man. It's really bad. Sorry. Is brake fade a thing in ACC? I'm not sure. I did a 3-hour endurance race in the BMW a little while ago, and I didn't pay attention to the car in front of me. Yeah, 3 hours with the M6 round. Paul Ricard. It wasn't too bad. I mean, you get brake fade, you get brakes out of temperature range in a lot of sims. It didn't feel any worse than, say, RF2 with the GT3 cars. I don't know, it's something I haven't really... It's not something I've really given a lot of thought to. Yeah, it's the typical Fanatec squeal. I did notice that it was starting to get a bit squealy earlier, and like I said, I've done literally zero prep for this stream. I got another message earlier being, oh, when are you going to live stream? And I thought, well, I've got a few hours this afternoon, let's do it. GT3 cars in RF2 slide a lot. Yeah, maybe. I haven't driven them for a little while. I've been busy with a lot of other sims. I need to sort of go back to it. Oh man, Steve, Tuna Palace. The Tuna Palace is in ACC. It's you need to know the Konami code to access it, man. Oh, I didn't realise anyone that actually knew me IRL was going to be in this stream. This is a terrifying turn of events. Well, I mean, I love the GT3 cars in RF2. How come I'm using Sidekick and not Race Essentials? Because I was using Race Essentials, then I downloaded Sidekick and it was new and I liked it and I've sort of stuck with it. It's one of the things that I didn't appreciate about being when I sort of started the YouTube channel, is how little time I would actually have to worry about things like racing or what kit I was going to use, because you just spend so much time making videos. You know, I swapped from, I'll be doing AC today. I was doing some dirt rally stuff yesterday, ACC before that. So you spend 24 hours in one sim, then you go to the next. So sometimes I'm like the worst person in the world to give advice about, which is the best app, or what do I think about brake temperature on the BMW M8 in R Factor 2, because it's a shame if I haven't had to do something specific with that car and given it a really thorough test, then I've just got no chance. So yeah, what I'm saying is take everything I say with a massive pinch of salt. It's not just Gamer Muscle's home track. I'm local, man. Well, fairly local anyway. I'm about halfway between Brands Hatch and Thruxton, which is roughly where Woking is. So yeah, a bit of a McLaren fan. Yeah, I agree. ACC needs some work in the VR department. It does. That's just that's a fact. But that's something you have to sort of. I think you have to be a bit patient with Kunos about, just because at the end of the day, the optimization part of development is right at the end of the development schedule. It's not something that's going to get done early on. So I kind of got faith that things will get better. See if we can sneak up the inside of Clearways here. Yeah, I want to get to. I haven't been to Thruxton for a little while actually. I'd like to. Like to get a move up. Man, I need to learn not to get so distracted by chat. You guys are all asking really interesting questions, so looking sideways through Clearways probably not optimum. Not that I'm driving much better when I'm paying attention. Paul, yeah, I agree. I'm hoping it gets as slick as Project Cars 2, but sort of to qualify that, I found VR in Project Cars 2 was really bad for the first sort of 6 months of the game, so I guess there's some expectation that things aren't going to be perfect to start with. No, I probably do need to find a way to get the chat to appear on the screen I'm actually looking at. Again, this is just supposed to be a little sort of test stream, just so I just wanted to check that the bitrate worked. I thought I was pushing my luck with 1440p, to be perfectly honest with you. I've never done live for speed in VR. I didn't even know it was possible. Do you have to do it through any other sort of overlay stuff? Do I hope to make a career as a YouTuber? I'm not sure about career as a YouTuber. That's still a bit strange to say, but as I'm enjoying being able to dedicate a lot of time to providing content for sim racing. I'm really enjoying that side of things. So while I'm making very little money from it, because YouTube ad revenue is pretty poor, I'm sort of enjoying just about making enough to make it that I'm not completely hemorrhaging money. There was, so long as it sort of covers costs, I'm fine putting the time into it. I'm lucky enough to work for myself at home, so I can do things like this. I can speak to the boss, who is me, and say I'm going to spend this afternoon streaming a completely stupid Fiat 500 race, and the only person I'm hurting is myself when I realise on Friday afternoon I haven't finished all my work and I'm going to have to work late. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed the commentary, Mr. Dog. It was really fun. There was, I think the event was, it sort of came together quite a lot at the last minute, so there were a few little hiccups and stuff that that sort of prevented us from doing a few things we'd have liked to have done, just to make it a bit more slick. But I think Paul and I really enjoyed doing that, and I'm not sure what I can say. I think the will is there for me to do the rest of the series, but it's just commercial stuff. So, late breaking there. Shout out from Australia. Hey, Jody, Brody. God, just making up your name, man. That's terrible. See, I'm finding it amusing as I'm reading a comment about my top class stuff as I drive badly and can't even pronounce your name. So. Living up to every expectation I had for this stream. Am I going to get a cut penalty? No. I'll tell you what I will have coming up on the channel soon, guys, that if you're interested in ACC will probably be interesting. I should have a series of videos where I'm talking to one or two of the devs from Kunos about some of the in-depth features, get some behind-the-scenes stuff going, which it's something I've been wanting to do for a really long time. whenever I speak to any sim racing company, they're always really keen to appear more open and sharing, but no one has any time. Everyone's really pushed for limits, and everyone's just trying to get the next thing out of the door. But hopefully we should have, as I'm testing the limits of what Corsa can do there. Yeah, hopefully we should be able to get some behind the scenes stuff about how some of the more complex stuff in ACC works. Yeah, being a full-time sim tuber is very tricky. I think if you're someone like Jimmy Broadbent and you can command 4 million views a month, then it's sort of a sustainable thing. Jimmy's got a very big following and has sort of honed that stream stuff that he does to the absolute. He's really got that refined down to a fine art. And I know he talks about it like it's all like he's winging it, but I think he's a very clever business person. Business makes it sound really sort of douchey, and I don't think it's like that. But if you're at that sort of end of the spectrum, I think it's very doable. But sim racing is a small niche. Can I ask the devs about custom liveries? I did, and it's something that I don't know if it's going to come to ACC. There are commercial issues there. The difference between this game and pretty any other game is just that there's the commercial tie-in. Every single car is licensed. Every advertiser is licensed. We're driving around Brands Hatch here, and the trackside sponsors aren't even licensed properly because for some reason they don't want free advertising. So there's so many sort of stupid commercial considerations that go with this sort of thing. Yeah, Jimmy is really. Yeah, that's the other thing about Jimmy, of course, is that he's a quick guy. He produces really consistent content as well. I agree completely, Paul. So this is not the side I really wanted to go around, but here we go. Let's just drive him off the track. Something I won't be doing in the community race. Yeah, I see CJ just sort of plugged the Discord there. And that's as good a time as any for me to remind myself that I probably need to do the same thing. So if you guys want to get involved in some of the community races, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, that this is something that I'm prepping for. I'm not driving the Fiat 500 because that's what I like to do on a Thursday afternoon. But yeah, Discord link is in the description. If you're not a member, go and sign up, and yeah, it'd be great if you could jump on some of the community races. Blinking time? No, I don't blink, Dave. Oh, hey, Dave. Sorry, I totally didn't spot you there, man. Dave is someone, if you don't follow him, who is much better at doing this than I am. Very well practiced, fast sim racer, so you should go and check out his channel. I'm doing this mainly because I made a promise to someone that I would. Yeah, I am looking way more. Anytime I sort of look vaguely towards the camera, it's because I'm looking at the comments, which is why I'm nearly in the back of this Abarth every time. You can see how far I am from my sort of pace by the delta, which is terrifyingly short. Where are we? Oh, we're only in 9th place, so this is not the best showing, but look at the road. No, I'm not. Why would I look at the road? I've seen the road. I know what Brands Hatch looks like. I've never driven around it. That's something I should do. I've done every track day I've ever done's been at Silverstone, which just isn't the right track for it really, because I don't know if any of you guys have done Supercar Experience, but the guy is always encouraging me to go slower, stay off the stay away from the curbs, treat the car with respect, all of those sorts of things. And at a track like Silverstone, which is 400 meters wide, I know it felt a bit slow to me. Maybe that's just me, but I don't think it'd be possible to feel slow going down Paddock Hill Bend. I'd go down there on a bike and it'd feel like 1,000 miles an hour. What cars have I driven? I did I got to drive a Nissan GTR a few years ago, which was really fun. And I did a passenger lap in a Caterham R500. Again, also really fun. But, you know, it's one of those cars where the guy's just trying to get it sideways all the time, which is great fun, but doesn't necessarily give you the impression of speed. Maybe that's just me sounding like I'm whinging about that sort of thing. Yeah, what are bikes like at Brands Hatch? That's I don't ever think I've seen a motorcycle event here. I think interesting track for it. Probably terrifying. Thanks, Leechy Boy. I try and put effort into the production side of things. I'm not sure the live stream qualifies. But yeah, the idea behind doing these streams is just to find something that's doesn't require... I mean, the videos sort of take 2 full working days to put together, the average videos, so probably 2 10-hour days. And that's quite a tough schedule to keep up, so sometimes it's just nice to be able to sort of slot something in when I'm either short on ideas or waiting on other people. I mean, that's the main problem at the moment. Most of the delays recently have been caused by having to wait on approval from other people, or something to be delivered, or you know, just all sorts of silly stuff that comes with working with more professional companies. When you're working on your own, you've only got yourself to sort of keep up with. But recently I've had a lot of collaborations with sim racing companies, which has been very, very cool. Particularly enjoyed reviewing that wheel for Precision Sim Engineering. That was absolutely rad. But we just had this, you know, there's always considerations that just mean that working around other people can be a bit interesting. Man, we've done 30 laps in what feels like no time. Yeah, I know. I need to do some soundproofing on all of the stuff here. And yeah, I guess that's about it. Man, that went by like nothing. Not particularly fast times, only just down into the 59s. But whoop, there we go. Lose it at Paddock Hill Bend. That's pretty standard. Yeah, it is becoming a logistics hub. Did I have to send that wheel back? Man, yeah. No, I didn't have to send the wheel back. I had to send it to them so they could send it on to Jimmy. So I don't know if you saw Jimmy's video with the Formula Hybrid 2019. But yeah, I had to send it on so he could do that. Yeah, I wouldn't use WD-40 on it. It degrades plastic, particularly rubbers. It causes all sorts of trouble with. So I normally use lithium grease, but apparently I haven't done a good enough job. It's not the shifter, although the shifter's a bit clunky. Is that quite loud on the stream? No, it's the throttle pedal, which is really, really bad. Hey, Pork Fried Bryce. Yeah. Glad I've helped you get started in sim racing. That's really cool, man. You know, I hope I haven't given any really bad advice, like go and buy thousands of pounds worth of equipment, because I mean that's the way that's gonna go. It's an expensive hobby. Or maybe that's just me. Maybe all of the hobbies I get into eventually become expensive because I like gear. Yeah, silicon spray. Silicon works as well. Yeah, I might try that over the lithium. It said the instructions said lithium, but it seems a bit thick, to be honest. CSR Elite throttle sounded exactly. So yeah, I think it's just I don't know what the bushings are. I think are they plastic bushings on the The V3, I can't remember, but it's yeah, they've always sounded like that. Yeah, Higgs boson. It's a never-ending thing. There's always something you can improve. Like, I've just come back from that event in Italy, and we all the rigs were using like 49-inch Samsung ultra wide monitor, and man, driving on that was brilliant. Uh, super wide. I think it's the right compromise between the convenience of having one stream and one screen, and not having to deal with all the crap that comes with having triples and the setup and the performance issues that come with that, and just having the field of view, which was really great. Usually over the shoulder view, so you can see hands while driving. Yeah, I want to look into how I can get some extra cameras onto this setup, because I've got DSLRs and stuff. My background's in photography, so I've got a lot of this gear, but it's a question of how to get it all into the computer without it being a complete ball ache. To be perfectly honest with you, I've got a capture card for the screen, but I would need other capture cards each time I want to put a camera into it. That's you can do it with a webcam, but webcams are pretty limited. I'll work it out. I think there's definitely some room there. Pedal cam with the trademark old slippers. I'm wearing the slippers today. Actually, I didn't feel like putting the racing boots on. They're falling apart quite badly, so no chance of a pedal cam on that. It's it's proper bad look. Anyway, guys, I'll hang around and answer a few questions. This was really all I was planning on doing for this, was just checking that everything was working. I'm getting some great feedback. I'll try and sort out some of the background noise. I'm using a really directional microphone here as well, so I was hoping that would cut out some of the stuff from particularly the shifter. It's just very clunky. Could have done your hair. That's as good as it gets, mate, CJ. That's as good as my hair gets. I'll go to the barbers. I'll shave it off. What do you reckon complete shaved head is worth in time? It's got to be worth a couple of tenths. Nice black hole sun solar eclipse photo. Checking your photo. Sound was good. Didn't hear the shifter, just the throttle. Okay. Yeah, the throttle pedal's really bad. I'll throw that into the sea. Get some glitter on it. Yeah, CJ. That's practical solutions to real world problems, as always. Full suede moccasins with no soles. Yeah, I've got a set of Sparko racing boots that I really like. Check out Seb's haircuts. Should I grow? I need the moustache. That's what it's about. Since he grew the moustache in, he hasn't spun, has he? So, and Valtteri's doing better since he's got the beard. What do I think about all the people who comment on my videos saying my voice is quite relaxing? I don't listen to any ASMR stuff. Yeah, I find it funny. It's really weird. Webcam quality at full 1440p is notably lower than the game quality. Yeah, it's 640 by 480. It's the webcam, and it's only taking up part. It's at full res. I'll look into it. I'll see what I can do. I'll watch back the stream and see if I can learn. I think the thing is, you've got to do one or two of these to work out what does and doesn't work. Man, what's the deal with the hair? I've done my hair. This is as good as it gets. I'm not Jimmy. No, we I can't pull the full rock star hair. We'll get Paul. I'll tell you what. I'll get Paul Jeffrey from Race Department here. He's got the sort of Liam Gallagher circa 1995 look going on, and he can sit here on the camera just playing with his hair or something, and then I'll just talk. Oh man, you found my old Shutterstock gallery. Man, that was a long time ago. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I used to do some commercial photography. I didn't put any of the. I just sort of put some of the practice stuff on Shutterstock. Yeah, it was a long time ago. That's like 10 years old. At least I have hair. Oh, that's a bit unfair. I think wear a McLaren cap. Yeah, McLaren cap. That's the answer. I haven't bought any McLaren merch in a long time because I think for the last decade, it's all looked, well, maybe even more than that. It's all looked really, really stupid, and I say that as a big fan of McLaren as well. What's the next VR headset I've got my eyes on? The new, is it the Rift S? That looks really good. I don't really, I haven't really been keeping up with it, to be honest. I'm really happy with the Oculus. And oh, hey George, nice of you to drop by, man. This was just sort of a bit of a see if I can make things work stream, and now it's just descended into a bit of a Q&A. But yeah, VR, I don't get to do nearly as much of it as I like, because you guys all complained when I did VR videos on YouTube. You know, lots of people don't like the sort of shakiness of it, and I think I was doing a pretty good job of keeping my head pretty still. Oh, hey Paul, kisses to you, man. Check out the Pimax 5K. Pimax are an interesting company, because you speak to some people and they have really good experiences with it and it sounds really good, and you speak to other people and they're not a big fan. Oh, hey Super GT, hey man. Man, I was just doing a quick sort of stream to just check everything works, and like everyone stopped by to say hi, which is super crazy. Samsung Odyssey Plus currently. How do you like that, Paul? Is it working for you, man? You back the Pimax and do not recommend. Oh, speaking of Kickstarters, someone reached out to me and said they've got what was the name? Was it Feel VR that were doing the super cheap direct drive wheel? They said they think they're going to start shipping them soon, and would I like to take a look at one? So with a bit of luck, if they do start shipping, I should have one coming to do a review on soon, which would be really cool actually. No, Doug, I'm not going to do another race. I've just done a race. This was just a quick test stream. I don't have a lot of time today, but it sort of descended into a bit of a Q&A because I haven't done one in about 6 months. Acer and HP headsets coming. Windows mixed reality. Yeah, there's lots of stuff that I'm really interested in giving a try, but yeah, as I said, I don't get much chance to use those headsets on the channel. The main issue was, are you going to race with us subs, Truckspot? Yeah, join the Discord. We do it. We do a community race once every couple of weeks. So join the Discord. Links in the description. And yeah, CJ and Paul, who I think are in the chat, will get you the member credentials, and you can join our community races. Oh, we've got race department here as well. Oh, this is all going badly now. Got all of the world's best people in here. See, I don't know who is operating the race department YouTube account either, so that could be literally anyone. They could have just left their login credentials in Italy, and it could be just some guy hanging out at Monza. Oh, hey Mitchell. Yeah, as I said, I'm not going to. Oh, George, that's so kind of you, man. Glad the super chat's working. That's really cool. I thought that would have appeared on the screen. Apparently not. That's very kind of you though, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, as I said, I'm going to hang around and just do a bit of a I'm just going to do a quick bit of a Q&A since everyone's asking questions, and then I'm going to shut the stream down and I'm going to go for a pint, because it's really nice weather here, and I spent the weekend in Italy where it was pissing down with rain the whole time. So what else have we got? What car do I drive in real life? Oh, what car do I drive in real life? I don't have a car at the moment. I drive my wife's Micra. We decided to go down to one car because we don't, we both work from home, so we don't really need a car. So yeah, Micra. That's my racing aspirations. I'm tempted to buy a 350Z this year though, because they're super cheap. Yeah, so you guys watch more adverts. That'll buy me a 350Z. That's how that works, isn't it? Virtual pint. What do you think about GTR 3? Oh, I have to be really careful here, especially as race department are in the chat as well, and I think those guys are really close with Simbin. I would love to see GTR 3 come out and be great. I think what we've seen as sort of sim racers is just like the absolute top level of what's going on, and they've done a little bit of performance art, if you will, just to drum up a bit of interest. I think I'd be surprised if it's as bad as all the negative comments about it led it to believe. So yeah, I'm really interested to see what's going on. I agree with what our race department's just said. It does have a lot to live up to, though. They've built up quite a bit of hype surrounding it, especially with that WEC announcement that probably, I don't know whether that was a mistake or whether it was just a bit of gamesmanship. But yeah, I want it to be great. How was Monza in my own live words? You know what, Eagle Racer? It was the best thing I've ever done in my life. It was oh man, I hope my wife can't hear. Monza was a fantastic weekend. It was great to go and watch a race at one of the world's greatest racetracks, and I mean it absolutely is. It was great to be able to go and see a sim racing event from a bunch of developers I really care about. It was great to be involved in that event and surrounded by all of this just amazing stuff. So and more to the point, I got a bloody media pass. I got to just go everywhere. I've never had that at a racing event before, and just being able to get into the media centre and out into the pit lane and just go and do all the stuff that you're not normally able to do was absolutely a dream come true. I am so thankful. I said thanks in the video to SRO and Kunos and race department for making that happen. But man, yeah, that was a dream come true. That's all I can say. I know it's really cheesy, but yeah, it just is what it is. It was great. Where did I get to? Hope you do more of your case study videos. Oh man, yeah, I was gonna do some more actually, but there's so much new stuff coming in sim racing now that it's really difficult to be like, okay, today I'm gonna sit down and make a video about how I set up the Mazda 787 or something. When there's there's like a whole bunch of new Assetto Corsa mods that have come out over the last week that I haven't done anything with. There's tracks that I haven't looked at. There's always so much great new stuff, and that's before we even get into new games and stuff. So I will do some more of those because it was great. Did my wife go to Monza with me? No, she didn't. She stayed at home. I used to travel a lot for work. I used to work in the banking industry, and I used to travel a lot for that. And I think she got sick of do you want to come? I'm going to this exotic place, and then being stuck in the hotel or having to go and do her own things and never really being all that well organised. So I think Monza would have been all right because she was. It's near enough Milan that she could have done her own thing. But you look at the other tracks on the calendar, like Paul Ricard, south of France, that might be all right. But Spa, is Spa near anything? Nürburgring's certainly not near anything. So what else have we got? What do I think of the Mad Box? Waste of time or a good idea? Well, that's a loaded question. It's just a PC in a different case, isn't it? I would love to see something more from it that leads me to believe that it's nice, but I guess it's probably not aimed at guys like us, is it? I mean, I presume they're sort of pitching it at the professional sim setup or someone that just wants a turnkey solution. And that was something I saw in Monza actually. I was speaking to the guys from Sparko Gaming, and they're heavily sort of pitching their product line at people that they just want to go and buy one thing. They've got this turnkey sim racing rig thing, so it's the rig, the wheel, the monitor, the PC, everything. You click buy on one thing, it turns up, all the documentation's there, it's already pre-installed with Assetto Corsa Competizione, because that's their commercial tie-up. So I think that's where they're aiming. I don't think it's for someone like you or me that's gonna really heavily into sim racing and is just going to buy the right tool for the job for your specific use case. What did I make of the real race at Monza? I haven't had a chance to watch it. I got to see some of it from the track side, and I got to see I got to see the podium celebration from the driver cool down room, which was very cool. But yeah, I have no idea what went on other than I would say 70% of the cars had significant damage, so it was probably a pretty good one. What do I think of Project Cars 3? Don't know. Wait and see. I think the messages that have come out around it are pretty typical for SMS, which is that they're a bit teasing, don't necessarily tell you exactly what's going to be happening. So I think if it's going to be more like Need for Speed, then that actually might not be a bad direction for them. I think they've acknowledged that Project Cars 2, they were sort of biting off a bit more than they could chew. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I don't know the answer to that one. Yeah, no slow-mo, gluten-free. It's difficult to do that live. I could just speak slower. Rumoured extra series in ACC. We also get extra tracks. Yeah, again, I think I said that Stefan Rattel sort of dropped a hint that maybe we'd be getting GT4 as part of a career progression type thing. I don't know if that's the case or not. It's just it was something he said during his press conference that gave me the impression that was what was going to happen. My hope, and he also mentioned Intercontinental GT, so if that gets us Intercontinental GT, then yeah, great, same cars, but also Suzuka, Bathurst, Kyalami. Yeah, I mean, what's not to like about that? Where did I get to? I was so disappointed in Project Cars 2. You know what? Project Cars 2 for me is a love-hate thing. I've said it before. When you find a great car and a great track and they work together, it's so atmospheric and it looks so good and it sounds great as well in general that it's magic. But sometimes finding that content can be a pain. Some of the cars have setups that are almost like they've been done by a random number generator rather than any real setup work, or maybe they've just ported them from Project Cars 1. So yeah, I don't really know. Project Cars, it's always been difficult for me. It's a love-hate thing, certainly. Where did we get to? Lexus, also the American and Asia series, Lexus, Aston, Audi. Will we get motion sims and consumer prices one day? That's an interesting one, dude. I think the issue is if you're having to move, like 80, 100 kilos around, that requires some pretty heavy hardware, and to do it quickly, that's the other thing. It's like the difference between, say, a G29 and a direct drive wheel. The difference is in the quality of the force feedback isn't necessarily the power, but the speed at which it can react. So for motion to give that sort of sensation of feedback and G-force, you need it to move very quickly, and that requires pretty industrial stuff. So, hey, Sim Racing Paddock. Yeah, you've sort of come in at the end here. We're just doing a quick Q&A. I wasn't really planning on doing any live streaming for a while, but here I am trying to learn on the job, to be honest. Where did I get to? Is there any suggestion that races like the Bathurst 12 hours will be in AC? As I said, I think Stefan Rattel hinted maybe that those things will be part of ACC in the future. That is not an official line. That is literally just me reporting something that Stefan Rattel said. He could have been completely mistaken. He could have been trying to lobby in public, for all I know. He could have been just trying to turn the screws to get more money from Kunos. I don't know, but there was something he said in that press conference that led me to believe that maybe in future we'll get more of a career progression from GT4 through the way to Intercontinental GT. And I'm sorry if anyone from Kunos is watching, and I shouldn't have said that, but I have now multiple times. F1 at Road America was a good combo on Project Cars 2. Yeah, any super fast car at Road America is absolutely terrifying, particularly with the bumps. Group 5 at Cadwell Park. Yeah, again, I really like the Group 5 cars in Project Cars 2, actually. I like the Group 5 cars in anything. They don't even have to be good. I like stupid cars with too much power and no grip. So still don't know exactly when we get all the cars, if we get any of them any soon. You'll get all of the main cars with Build 1 on May 29th, Truck Spotter, I think. So when ACC launches the full version, you should get all 17 or 18 cars or whatever it is, the main cars. And I think, I forgot to ask about this because it's the main question I had, but I think you'll also get the 991 Cup car and the Super Trofeo car because they both competed at Spa last year. So that would be very cool. Yeah, if the default setups had been more consistent, everyone would have loved Project Cars 2. I think I agree with that statement, sort of 90%, Mr. Dog. I think if the default setups were drivable out of the box, people would have persevered more with it, and the positives would have massively outweighed the negatives. One of the best cars or class in Project Cars 2, in my opinion. Oh, the Aston Martin DBR1, the 1950s sports car, is easily the best car in Project Cars 2. It feels right with a classic tyre model in that you get the sort of sustained drifting that you get from those cars in that era, where you sort of pitch it into a corner and get just this gentle slide that you have to control on your right foot. That was just fantastic. Yeah, I like the LMP2 cars as well, Truck Spotter, but I don't. The LMP2 is nothing compared to the R Factor 2 one, which is probably, I think I said, was my favourite car of last year. Oh, hey Krabby Crab, nice to see you, man. Why don't I stream on Twitch? Well, I wasn't streaming on YouTube until 58 minutes ago, so it's all pretty new to me. I might take a look at Twitch. That's certainly something I'll look at in the future, but for now I'm on YouTube because it's familiar and I understand it. We streamed on Twitch over the weekend. I was on Twitch for a few hours over the weekend with the guys from Race Department. Yeah, the sounds in Project Cars 2 are pretty variable. I know what you mean. Someone posted, I think it was CJ actually posted, I think it was Random Call Sign did a comparison video between side by side with ACC and Project Cars 2 in the Lamborghini GT3. And what was interesting about it for me is the Lamborghini in Project Cars 2 sounded way better, but less real. It didn't have the, I don't know if you've listened to much onboards from the GT3 cars, but what's really characteristic about them is how much transmission whine. You get lots of gear train noise, differential, that sort of thing, and that's a really big part of how those cars sound, and that was completely missing in Project Cars 2. So you just got the scream from the engine, which sounded great, but the question then becomes, do you want the sound to be really good, or do you want the sound to be real? The Lambo and the Audi sound the same in Project Cars 2. Well, they've got the same engine and gearbox, Dominic. They sound pretty similar externally in real life. Obviously, I've never been inside either of them, so I can't tell you about that. But externally, they sound very similar. SMS changed that right before the release to cater for pad users. Yeah, I'd read that actually. I read something from Ian Bell saying that the setups were meant for pad users and not for people with wheels, which I guess that makes sense. I mean, if you're gonna, I presume 90% of their sales went on console because the market's just that much bigger. So it makes sense, but it would be nice if they had setups that were catered for pad users and for wheel users. Maybe that's something that maybe that would have been a better way of handling it. If that's the case, I'm speculating here. What do I think about Feel VR? Yeah, Stoffel, I don't know if you heard, I mentioned sort of about 10 minutes ago that someone that was part of the Kickstarter reached out to me last week just before I left for Italy and said, hey, I think they're about to start shipping. If I get them to send it to you, do you want to do a review, as long as you promise to send it on to me when you're done? And yeah, hopefully I'm going to get a chance to take a look at one, because I didn't get on the Kickstarter. So I'm really interested to see what they can do with it, because the actual, as a direct drive wheel user, the motor itself isn't all that special. The control electronics, I think, are quite important, and the software that interfaces with all of that's really important. So if they can get all of that right on a budget, it will be great. I did a video a few weeks ago on the SimuCube 2. They're producing their own wheels, and I was kind of hoping, when I first heard about that they'd be bringing in a real budget option, but no. That's the prices start basically at OSW type setup, and then go well into the sort of Leo Bodnar type range. So they're pitching it at high-end users as well. So I think the market is screaming out for a lower end direct drive wheel, if that's possible. So I'm really positive about what Feel VR can do. Hopefully they do a version without the wheel rim, because I think the wheel rim looks atrocious. Hopefully it's better in real life, but it looks pretty cheap to me. What would you upgrade a G25 with on a £200 budget? A used T300, or if you can get a TSPC for that price, would be a good thing. I think TSPC is a great wheel and would definitely be worth trying to stretch your budget a little bit if you can. Have I ever worked on any commercials? I used to be a commercial photographer, which didn't have a lot of call for talking. In fact, generally people preferred when I stayed shut up. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, the rim on the Feel VR wheel doesn't look great, but I think that's the same on the stock T300 RS wheel. It's this sort of 10-inch plasticky thing that came off badly. That is a phrasing thing that I should definitely work on. 10-inch plastic thing is not how I should be describing any sim racing equipment. Should you get an Oculus Rift or a GT1 cockpit? I think the Rift is great if you don't have to worry about doing stupid stuff like making videos for YouTube. I would spend all of my time in a Rift. That being said, the GT1 cockpit, I'm using one here, and it is solid as a rock. I don't think I would need anything bigger or more fancy than this. I think it's great for the price, and I struggle to think of a better rig for the price. T300 rim is rubber, not plastic. Yeah, no, you're right. But I'm not going there either. As Gluten Free says, join the Discord. We've nearly got 1,000 members. It'd be great if a few of you guys could join up and join in on the bi-weekly racing events. That would be great. I like the Feel VR Formula wheel. I haven't seen the Formula rim actually. I'm really interested to see that. Have you guys seen my new thing? Okay, I'm not reading that out loud, because otherwise someone's gonna totally cut that out, and that'll be the end of my career as a YouTuber. Yeah, they are called Thrustmaster. They're French, aren't they, as a company? So maybe it's lost in translation a little bit. What's the best VR for sim racing? I think there's not a lot to choose between the Rift and the Vive. I've used both. Honestly, I preferred the Rift just because it was a bit more comfortable with glasses, even though I end up using it with contact lenses most of the time. But at the price, I think I picked it up for £279 on Black Friday, and that sort of tipped me in that direction. If I was buying something now and money wasn't an object, I'd probably get the Vive Pro. Yeah, the Rift is lighter as well. There's VR is one of those things where I would say there are like a dozen different really big downsides that you could easily focus on, but that first time you put on the VR headset in a game like Assetto Corsa or Project Cars, where the VR experience is really just nicely sorted out and you jump in a single seater, and the first time you go through a corner, you just look over to the apex, and you look between the suspension wishbones or whatever. It's absolutely great. You can't beat that. Oh, what tattoo do I have? It's I don't know if I can't actually see on the stream if you can see that from there. It's a raven, man. Something I designed myself. I've got a few tattoos, but that's all I'm showing on the stream, family stream, and all that. If you have a massive head like me, Vive is way better. There you go. Decent consumer advice from someone called Captain Condescending. Why didn't I answer your question, Rolling Digger? What was your question? Sorry, repeat. Say it again, man. The chat's going a bit fast for me because I waffle. Man, rumours are Valve's Index could have 135 degree field of view and a higher resolution than the Rift. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting VR stuff that's on the horizon in the next few months. Unless you can pick up something dead cheap, it's probably worth holding off to see what the next gen really does. Turbo Man, what game would I recommend for getting into sim racing? iRacing is excellent. You're right. It's totally. It is very expensive, but it doesn't have to be to start with. You know, you can just get into it and just pay the subscription for 1 month or something and see if you get on with it. But for me, pick up a game like Assetto Corsa on Steam. I don't know how much it costs with all the content now, but I presume they're pretty much giving it away. The other one I would recommend is Race Room, which you can drive some content completely for free. You don't have to pay anything out. So Assetto Corsa or Race Room Racing Experience for a super cheap way in, and they're both really great experiences in different ways. iRacing isn't necessarily the best beginner thing. I think it has the main problem with iRacing for me is that the way it drives, because of the tyre model in particular, is quite different to a lot of other racing sims. So I find that I can jump between R-Factor 2 and Race Room and Assetto Corsa fairly easily without having to do a lot of adjustment. But then when I go into iRacing, it's a very different feel. So if you just want to kind of get into the hobby as a general thing, then I would stick with one of the other sims and then look at iRacing if you want to get into more competitive stuff. Ricochet. Sorry, who was it? Ephraim Sudario. Man, that's a name. Sorry, I got that wrong. R-Factor 2 is great. The tyre modelling is fantastic. I love it, but again, until they sort out the user interface and make some of the bits a bit easier, I wouldn't say it's necessarily the easiest sim to get into straight away. They are updating the tyre model on iRacing. They've rolled it out to the Skippy, haven't they? I haven't tried it yet. I've also lost loads of money on iRacing, and I don't have the time to justify the cost. The main thing is, for me, I can only spend a small amount of time on each sim before having to move on and do all sorts of other content because, you know, being a YouTuber, I chase what's new. So I really don't feel like I get my money's worth out of iRacing. But if you're the sort of person that does, dozens of races a week and really gets into driving one car, look at Jimmy, for example. He's just driving those Le Mans prototypes, and clearly getting his money's worth. And I think that's what's great about iRacing is if you really want to just get into a series and live that series like you would be in real life. I think that's where iRacing is great. Oh man, there were like 50 new messages that came in while I was giving that long-winded, carefully constructed answer about iRacing, so I don't piss off all the iRacing fans, which I do all the time. Race Room's the best AI. I like the Race Room AI, but it is very aggressive. It gets a bit punty. Hey Kurt, thanks for watching the videos. Love it. What's the release date for the Valve Pro? No idea. Someone in chat will have the answer to that. Indy 500 and iRacing. That's the thing about iRacing for me is I really want to get into the oval content, but I really, again, you need to dedicate so much time to do it properly. Tuning. You don't like iRacing because you have to pay for the online. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Lots of people don't like the business model, but that's cool. I think the upside to the business model is that it keeps out a lot of the less serious drivers. I mean, there's a good and bad side to that, but you're unlikely to get someone who's just come into the game for the first time with a gamepad and is just going to plow into you at turn one. Although you do still get that. Yeah, I'm going to do some more iRacing videos soon. Mutzmuller, sorry, that's a difficult one for me to pronounce. I'm going to do some more of the iRacing videos soon, but I think, as I said earlier, I have to spend a bit of time getting back into iRacing because the tyre model's so different to the rest of the sims. So it takes me a few days where I just have to really focus on iRacing. Yeah, SRS is brilliant for Assetto Corsa racing, Sunday driver. The other thing you should check out if you don't already do it is the community races on Race Department, and we do our own bi-weekly community races in the Discord server as well. So if you're looking for good fun sort of casual Assetto Corsa racing, give us a join on the Discord, and I think we're just trying to keep it fun at the moment. I don't know if CJ and Paul are still in the chat, but they can post a link to that. Yeah, and it's Rosenquist races just about everything that has four wheels. I'm a big fan of Felix. I think he's a great driver. I really enjoyed watching him in the Formula E last year, and obviously he's good value for money in the IndyCar this year as well. So, and in the sports car stuff as well. iRacing does nail overs, but the rookie ovals are really chaotic. I think rookie's going to be chaotic in pretty much any series, but ovals are just death traps, aren't they? So I don't know how much time I'd have to put in to get past the rookie stuff. I haven't really looked into the. Oh man, that's so kind. Thank you so much for the donation, man. That's totally unexpected, especially as I'm just sitting here talking rubbish to you guys. You paying for their work, you're receiving the best. What I spot in ACC cars, they're not bumping and shaking while driving like ice blocks on tracks. Interesting you say that, Truck Spotter. I sat and watched a lot of the content on the big screen from ACC at the event in Monza over the weekend, and what lots of people were saying was how believable the cars looked on track, how the way they were interacting with the tarmac was really believable. You watch the way the suspension deflects, the cars roll, they interact with the curbs and stuff, and they look really good, man. I'm really excited about it, especially as someone who spends a lot of time looking at the outside of these cars, making YouTube videos. I was going to be a premium member on Race Department, but it looks like there's not much participation in their leagues. It depends on the leagues, dude. Like anything, there are lots of leagues that run really interesting cars, the sort of thing that I would kill to drive, like a Group C league or 1970s Formula One league. It turns out there are only a few dozen people around the world that, one, are interested in it, two, feel they're capable of driving it, and three, can actually get there at the right time to do it. So those leagues are always really difficult to get the participation in. That's something we've found running our own races in the Discord, is if you put Mazda MX-5s up, everyone signs up and you've got a full race in 20 seconds. But if you try and run all the fancy stuff that people talk about wanting to do, you get really low participation. So it really depends what you're trying to get out of it. Took you about 12 races to get out of oval rookies, including one disqualification. Yeah, I think the thing about ovals, and I may be talking complete rubbish here, is that maybe I wouldn't need to do quite as much prep because it's a different discipline. I find it really difficult it's really difficult for me to go between, say, doing a race at Brands Hatch in Assetto Corsa to doing a race in Brands Hatch in iRacing, just because I feel the way you can turn the cars in iRacing is just so, they've just got so much grip on turning, and then the feel at the edge, the same thing everyone complains about, the feel at the edge of grip is very different. So it takes me a long time to balance that, whereas because I don't really do oval stuff elsewhere, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. I would love historical. Open wheels not popular online. Yeah, open wheel cars are just difficult to drive. We found that. We did a race with the Lotus Exos in Assetto Corsa, which is it's not a super difficult car to drive, but it's difficult enough because, like all of those cars, they're so setup dependent. You race the MX-5, and even on the stock setup, it's just fine. You don't have to. You can find a little bit of time in the setup, but in an open wheel car with lots of downforce and complex suspension, there's a lot of time to be found in the setup. So I think it puts people off. And we did the I wasn't available for it because I was in Italy, but we ran the Mazda 787 at Spa, and you look at the time differential between the fast guys and people that haven't had time to really nail their setup and stuff. And a track like Spa, it can be lots of seconds. It's almost like prototypes versus GT cars. So I think personally, my opinion is keeping it simple is the best way to go. Start a Formula Ford league, then build up to faster cars. Yeah, that's an interesting idea, Baker. Especially if you're doing a league, that's absolutely the way to do it. I think we're talking about doing some races with the Tatus, is it, in Assetto Corsa, essentially a Formula 4 car, which would be a nice way of introducing a regular group of people to some of the faster open wheelers. Fixed setups, yeah. Maniac fixed setups is something that again we want to do more of, but you have to pick the right car. For example, I've just been driving the Fiat 500, and even on a 22-degree air temperature, the tire pressures are 4 or 5 psi over the recommended. So yeah, I don't know if you can. I think when you lock setups, it locks everything rather than just allow. You can't just say, oh, you're allowed to change the tire pressures, or you're allowed to change tire pressures and fuel, or whatever. I'd have to look at that. I mean, it's something you could do on good faith, but if someone turns up and is 1.5 seconds quicker, you can do partially fixed setups, can you? Okay, we'll have to have a look at that, Baker. We don't have. We're not running a proper. A full dedicated server. We're just doing a rented server, so I'll have to have a look at the config to see what we can do there. RSS Formula 3 car, yeah, I mean, I really like the RSS Formula 4 car actually, so the Formula 3 would be good. The RSR F3, yeah, I'm not sure if it's god awful, but I think it's getting a bit old now. I really enjoyed it when it first came out. It was one of the better Formula cars, but those guys from RSS have just moved the goalposts so much. I mean, everything they produce is just better than the last thing. I mean, that Formula Hybrid is just ridiculous. Love it. Maybe one professional gives one setup to all the drivers, then fix it. Actually, that's interesting. 2 of the fast guys in our Discord regularly share their setups, which is really nice, especially for someone like me that I'm busy making videos. I don't have time to sit and work on a setup for all the cars, so yeah, it's a really helpful community actually, so get involved. One of my biggest pet peeves in AC is the ability to change things in the setup the real cars don't run. Yeah, ABS in the Porsche GT3 Cup car and adjustable gearing in GT3s, for example. Yeah, I know what you mean, Nitsa. I'm trying to think of some other examples of that, because I've come across a few, and to be perfectly honest with you, I'm drawing a blank. I agree, Captain Condescending. The limit is very, very weird in the RSR car. I think it's just a bit old now. The GT1 pack is absolutely insane. Oh yeah, I love it. I haven't had a chance to drive it in a couple of months, so it'd be nice to get back to doing that. See if I can do that on a stream. I'll just end up spinning all the time. Yeah, hey Andre. This was I was doing a race stream, but this has just sort of turned into a bit of an impromptu Q&A because, well, I haven't done. I did a Q&A when I hit 3,000 subs in September, and I said I wasn't going to do one until I hit 50k. Just completely arbitrary, but no, I'm not going to do another race, Gorgie. To be honest, I need to go. I've got stuff to. I've got pints to have. I need to go see some friends and enjoy the small amount of British sunshine. Assetto Corsa server.com if you're looking for something to make stuff easier, like fixed setups. We're using rack service at the moment. Does that integrate with it, or is it a separate hosting solution? I'll certainly have a look at it. 50k, I'd have 3 times as many questions to answer. Well, that's not a problem. Yeah, I don't know when I'm going to get to 50k. Yeah, we got sunshine here. It's been lovely for the last week. I left Heathrow Airport on Friday in glorious sunshine, landed in Monza, and it was raining sideways. So it's nice to be back in the sun, actually. What's my pint of choice? I'm enjoying the Birra Moretti, actually, which it turns out is exactly the same in Italy as it is in the UK, and you can get it quite a lot of places around here. What's my favourite track that aids close racing? Brands Hatch, Donington, both. I'm biased because I'm British and I've spent a lot of time at Brands Hatch over the years, but Captain Condescending. So it's a separate hosting solution, but magical for managing. Well, we'll have a look at that. I mean, we're not tied to rack service. I think that's just what we went for because that's what Kunos recommends. We'll certainly have a look into it. If there's more options, then it's definitely worth considering. Yeah, Alton Park's a really great choice. As is Snetterton as well. I enjoy Snetterton. My favourite F1 driver. There's a few over the years. Pironi's better than Moretti. Yes, sometimes. Depends on what mood I'm in. Both good though. Who's my favourite Formula One driver? Well, I grew up in the 80s and I started watching Formula One in 1991, and I was a big Ayrton Senna fan early in my life, as well as Jean Alesi. I then went through to being a bit of a Hakkinen fan, and I've not really had anyone I've followed really closely since then. I think Leclerc is proving good value for money as a viewer at the moment. I'm enjoying the trouble he's giving Seb at the moment. I think that's going to be a great story over the rest of the year, and well, going forward, as long as one of them doesn't get fired. So just as we found Road America recently in our GT3 championship. Yeah, I think Road America just is one of those tracks that seems to work with a wide variety of cars, and that's really great. Actually, you don't get too many circuits that just work well with fast cars and slow cars. And yeah, I mean the slowest of slow cars I think are a bit dull. I don't think it's got enough quite sort of technical corners for that, but anything sort of maybe GT3 or faster I think it's great. Jean Alesi with the weird 5-to-1 way of holding the wheel. Yeah, I think it was just really exciting to watch. I'm not sure, I think he sort of faded pretty quickly later on in his career. He looked like he was going to be a future world champion, and then those couple of years at Ferrari didn't necessarily do him any good. Yeah, Lilski's working on a whole bunch of tracks at the moment. I know Road America's one of them. I think he's working on Road Atlanta as well. I think he's just taken on every track in the US because I think if you've ever listened to him talk about other mod tracks, he knows he can do them better. So that's great for us. I just it'd be nice to see one of them soon. What did I think of the team orders that Ferrari used in China? I only got to see some of the race. We watched about half an hour of it in the esports park at Monza, obviously surrounded by Ferrari fans, and I can tell you the Ferrari fans didn't like it, and I didn't like it. They're all they're a big fan of Leclerc. Maybe they've grown a bit weary about Seb. I think, obviously we talked about Formula One quite a lot over the weekend, and I think Seb's made some pretty high profile mistakes, which I think he's getting quite a bit of flack for. So Leclerc being on the same sort of pace and giving him some trouble, yeah, I think the Ferrari fans like that. Have I heard anything about Kyle Army coming to ACC? Yeah, if they include the Intercontinental GT as some sort of DLC or whatever, then yeah, I think that'll be included. Nick, if you were around earlier, I sort of mentioned that Stefan Rattel in the press conference sort of mentioned that he'd like to see GT4 and Intercontinental GT incorporated into the game. Whether that is foreshadowing the future or just wish listing or lobbying Kunos to pay him more money for the licenses, I don't know, but I think it's a sign of things to come. Hopefully, at least. I'd love to see it. I think I much prefer the old layout of Kyle Army, as much of a death trap as it was. I tell you what, if you get a chance to watch some of the early 80s Group C stuff, the World Sports Car Championship races from Kyle Army, they are totally mad. Definitely give them a watch. I think Duke Video have got them. There may be some stuff on YouTube, but you've essentially got these Group C cars, the Porsche 956s and Lancia LC 1s and 2s, depending on the year, versus some guys from the local racing club that are turning up in their VW Scirocco's and stuff, and it's old Kyle Army, which has catch fences that were out of date in the 1970s, and a racetrack that was very much not the sort of place that you should be driving Group C cars, and it produced just some great racing. And of course it rains, and it's just totally nuts. Definitely worth a watch. They've been doing laser scans of Kyle Army, have they? Well, I don't know who they are, but I don't know that Kyle Army's in any of the modern sims as a laser scanned thing, so that would be great, actually. Love to see it. I think even though I said I prefer the old Kyle Army layout, the new one is really fun as well. So, opinions on Zandvoort. As a track, I love it. It's totally unsuitable for Formula One. I had a long discussion with Bram, the guy that runs race department, who's out in Italy as well, is Dutch, and I think he shares my opinion that it's not suitable for Formula One for many reasons, not least of all there's the access to the track. There's one sort of 2-lane road, there's one light railway thing, and the track itself, it's not up to Formula One standards. It doesn't have the runoff. It's not wide enough. I mean, have you driven a modern Formula One car in, say, Assetto Corsa around Zandvoort? It's like a minute-long lap. It's fun, it's great, but it would produce the worst racing on the calendar by far. And yeah, as Mr. Dog says, I think Assen is a better choice, so long as they don't ruin it. And that's my opinion about any track Formula One goes to, is the demands that particular racing series places on tracks is pretty hefty, isn't it? I would hate to see Zandvoort get the Formula One, because the changes they would have to make it safe and to give the amount of access for 200,000 people and the media and 30 trucks and all of the other stuff. Is there any news on the BMW M8 GTE from URD? Great question, Maximilian. I have no idea. I will get onto the Discord and ask the guys from URD what's going on there. Sorry, I just need to approve a message. Oh man, apparently I've got links turned off. There you go, gluten free. Your link should show now. What's wrong with Zolder? It has the same. Zolder's the same sort of thing. It's just a bit too small for just a bit too small for Formula One. Going back to URD, yeah, I haven't heard anything from the guys about what's happened with the M8. When I previewed it on the channel, they said it was a couple of weeks away. They just had to finish the interior, so they asked me not to show the interior when I drove it, which sort of made it a bit interesting to do the video. But it felt pretty much there. It wasn't quite like a 100% finished car, but I sort of believed that it was a couple of weeks away. But I think those guys have got day jobs. They do other things. URD is just is a separate thing for them. So I don't know. I will try and find out the answer. A couple of people have asked, so I should do. What's my favourite F1 track, past or present? I think Suzuka. I probably don't have to explain why that is either. Assen has lots of runoff already, and it's a completely brand new stand as well. Yeah, Mr. Dog. Assen is so much more suited, so long as they don't ruin it for the MotoGP. Yeah, thanks Turbo Man. Thanks for joining the stream. This has turned into a me talk at the camera exercise, which certainly wasn't planned. But thanks for everyone that's stuck about to ask questions. Oh, hey Mick. Yeah, thanks for man. Commentating on that was a completely different experience. That was very new. Really enjoyed that. Some great racing. I don't know how many of you guys caught any of it or some of it or all of it, but what was really great for me is that the contrast between the pro racers and the silver racers. The pro racers, because they drive the Pro Series in, say, iRacing and in the Codemasters Formula One game and what have you, they are very practiced in those particular sims, but ACC is completely new to them. Whereas the guys that qualified for the silver event are really, lots of them were really focused on ACC. So when the silver race happened, those guys were really on it. So this supposedly lower class of drivers, lower class, for want of a better word, of drivers, put on a much better race. It was fantastic. What motorsport series do I watch on a regular basis? I try and keep up to date with the Formula One as best I can, the Formula E, Blancpain, and the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, the IMSA stuff, where possible. It's becoming a bit more difficult to keep up with everything these days. There's just so much going on. Like, I haven't seen anything from last weekend's racing, nothing at all. So hopefully, Blancpain. I didn't see the Blancpain race. I didn't see the Formula E. I saw a little bit of the Formula One. What do I think of the Formula W? Honestly, I haven't given it a lot of thought. There are lots of people with really strong opinions, and there are lots of valid pros and negatives to it, and I'm really sitting on the fence because I just haven't formulated an opinion. Any racing series I'd like to see succeed. The A1GP I thought was produced some really good racing, but didn't ultimately pan out, and that was a bit of a weird concept. So I think there's room for all sorts of different flavors of motorsport, and at the end of the day, it's about how you can make the commercial side of things work. Blancpain is pretty successful, not because it's got hundreds of thousands of fans all over the world tuning in each week or filling the grandstands, but because it's monetized from the drivers taking part in it. Whereas the Formula One can afford to rest on the commercial side from TV sponsorship and the like. There aren't too many others. Did someone steal my gate? Yeah, I never had a gate. I'm just 100% fence, Paul. Would I like to see a purely fictional race sim? Think pod racing fictional. Someone asked me this over the weekend, actually, and one of my favourite racing games ever was Wipeout. So yeah, I no problem with that at all. Love to see some more fictional stuff. Want to see jet boat sprints? Jet boats, yeah, that'd be great. They're following DTM for most of the season. Yeah, I think DTM will give it a good but niche viewership. Again, it's just about how the commercial side pans out. The lower classes surprised in the real Monza race as well, granted mostly because Monza was going through tyres like a cookie monster. Yeah, that's what I like about the Blancpain. See you, Gorgie. Man, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Sorry about that. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for asking a couple of really interesting questions. Yeah, lower classes at Monza. Again, I haven't watched the race, but in general, there's some great stuff going on in the lower classes. It's been nice to have Chris Harris from Top Gear in the Pro-Am class for the last couple of years as well. I think he was supposed to be at Monza, but wasn't. They're in the Aston this year, Garage 59, aren't they? But there's always stories to be watching, which is really cool. Anyway, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up now because I have been waffling on for an hour and a half. This was just supposed to be like a 20-minute check the connection works, check that I'm not hoping too much on 1440p, but it seems to be working. I'll watch the stream back and see if I can check the audio's okay. I'll take on board the feedback you guys have given, and thanks Super GT. Yeah, I'll take on board everything you guys have said and try and improve it for next time. Don't know when the next stream's going to be, but as I said earlier, I need to do some stuff for Thrustmaster and Dirt 2.0 because they asked very nicely, and I've been really bad at delivering on that promise, so that'll be pretty soon. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you again next time.